Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I have a video that's going to be very interesting for you because many of you who are in cryptocurrency are very interested in finding ways to make money in crypto. And I find that there's two standard modes that people get into. They either get into the degen stuff, which is hardcore speculation, alt currencies, and particularly shitcoins. Maybe they even get into derivatives trading, inverse perpetual contracts or something like that. But the second most default thing, which is considered the safe thing to do by a number of crypto users, is to get involved in staking, or perhaps to a lesser degree yield farming, or some of these other DeFi products. And I want to give my opinion about whether or not these are actually good things, because personally I think these things can be a bit of a quagmire, and it's still rather untested about whether or not these things are actually good in the long run. So if you're interested in these videos regarding debanking, DeFi, making money in crypto, subscribe to my channel. There's a lot of good value in there. It's not, debanking isn't just for the purposes of making money in crypto, which is a big part of debanking. It's also to help you rely less on centralized banking systems and using cryptocurrency and peer-to-peer trading to do that. So let's get into the video. So for reference, I want to show you this list here. It's made by Coinly, and it's just a number of the top recommended places to stake your crypto. And to give you some reference here, there's Coinbase with 13% API, there's KuCoin with 16% API, Binance 33%, etc., etc. And these are all really good yields, right? And most people who see those numbers would just think, well, it beats the S&P 500, so what's the catch here? Is it worth doing it? And I want to first make note of the fact that if you see something that is more than 10% APY, you should automatically just assume that there's some particular catch, right? So when I see this Binance 33% API, some of you can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about this, but I'm pretty certain this isn't like the top two or top three cryptocurrencies, right? This is not staking Bitcoin. This is not staking Ethereum. I don't even think this is staking USDT, although it could be. I think it's very unlikely though. If you see these high APYs, it's probably because they want you to stake some lesser known altcoin as a product, and this is usually where the high APYs come from. Now I want to give an example of why this is a bad idea using the example of PancakeSwap to demonstrate why I think you should be careful with these things, right? So for those that weren't around during the 2021 DeFi craze, or the 2020 summer of DeFi, for those who weren't around to remember what that was, essentially when a lot of these DeFi products came into the market, they would provide a service, right? So PancakeSwap is the main DEX of Binance's chain called Binance Smart Chain, or BEP, or BEP20. And what users could do is they could stake this token, which on the DEX, and what they would do is they would be able to get a yield, and often those yields would be in the hundreds of percent because fewer people were staking it at the time. And as a result, the people that did stake it were making a lot of money, and they'll just dump, like, as soon as they'll get their yield, they'll just sell it right away, right? And this made sense at the time just because there were fewer people doing it, and if you did do it, not only were you making money from the staking, the price of the underlying token was going up because more and more people wanted to get into it. So what do we call that? Essentially, it's a Ponzi scheme, right? Now, how they were able to deliver such high yields was because essentially, like a fiat monetary printing press, people were getting paid out in tokens that were essentially hyperinflationary. There was no cap on the amount of tokens that were being created, unlike Bitcoin. So they could keep printing more and more tokens, and they could say, well, we're going to pay you more and more of this token. But the problem is, this is because of this increased supply, this is going to long-term influence the value of the price going up. And it also is likely to influence it going down, right? Especially if people stop buying the token to stake. And this is unfortunately the reality of most tokens out there. They have an idea where they want people to stake the token. They're going to attract them with high APYs. But at the end of the day, it's just they're printing money out of thin air, no different to the fiat banking system. And this is just going to make the value of the token go lower. So if you're tempted into getting into staking, we'll just say whatever it is they're offering here on Binance. I don't know what it is, but I'm pretty sure it's not Bitcoin, it's not Ethereum or USDT, whatever it is. I'm almost certain that it's some no-name crypto you haven't heard of. And the chances of the crypto going down by more than 33% in the next year when you make your 33% in this crappy token, there's a very good chance that it's not even going to hold value. So this is something you should be aware of when you see anything that's above 10% in value, which is most things. You should be very concerned about whether or not this is a legit token that has legs in the long run. So what about some of these other ones here that aren't like crazy high, right? Like, you know, you got Coinbase offering 13, KuCoin 16%, Crypto.com offering 14%. Like, surely these aren't scams, right? And I agree. I don't think these are scams, right? Probably these are things for staking USDT and other stable coins. That's just my guess. Frequently, the best rates for like safe cryptos that you could stake come from stablecoin staking. And the downside of that is that, well, you're not really getting to participate in the overall crypto market bull run, which is what we're in right now. If you were to just hold Bitcoin for a year, I can guarantee it's going to do better than 14 or 13%. And maybe if we're in a bear market, you could, you know, argue otherwise, but then you're in a position where you're now just kind of speculating on the market, trying to guess whether the price of the market, whether the market's going to go up or down, which is kind of a dangerous thing to be in. If you're in crypto, you have an inherent belief that the price is just, the line is just going to go up inherently. Maybe on the micro, maybe, you know, crypto can go into a bear market here and then, that's fine. But if you just look at, you know, the price of Bitcoin since 2009, it's been in an endless bull market despite the fact that we've had some downturns. So potentially trading that unstoppable bear market for like 13%, I don't think that's a really good idea, right? So what are some of the other dangers, right? Well, I wouldn't necessarily get into the idea of dangers. I want to think about it in terms of opportunity costs now, right? So let's look at some of these other pools here. These are, so a lot of the ones that are mentioned here on this list that I've got here are for custodial exchanges, right? So centralized exchanges, you know, Kraken, Bake, whatever, Nexo, all these different things, right? But there are a number of other ones that are non-custodial, and they are a nice alternative to some of the centralized platforms, but the deal is ultimately somewhat similar, right? So I've got CurveFi open here right now, and I just want to give you an idea because maybe some of you actually haven't been exposed to these things. CurveFi is a place where you can provide liquidity in the form of pairs, right? So if you provide, look at this this first one here, that's DAI, USD, and Tether, right? So if you're holding a number of stable coins, but you're providing different kinds of stable coins, you put them together and you provide it as liquidity to CurveFi, and they'll give you something called a liquidity token, right? And this token, if you hold it, will increase in value. It will, sorry, not increase in value, that's the wrong word. You will be able to receive yield just by holding this token. And you can trade this token back in any time to receive your the liquidity you put in. So it's a one-to-one value, but you'll be able to get this 0.57% API. And you might think, look, if I'm just going to hold the tokens, then what's the big deal, right? Like if I'm going to hold like $1,000 in stable coins, why not just make a bit of extra money? I mean, the money's just sitting there, right? So why not just take advantage of it? So let's use this first one here, this 3-pool DAI USDT as an example. You're making around 0.5% APY. So I want you to think about how long it would take for you to quote unquote break even, right? Just given the assumption that perhaps at some stage Curve may break down and you might lose all your money. Hopefully that doesn't happen soon. Hopefully that doesn't happen in the immediate long term, right? But you have to think that if you were to potentially lose all your money, you'd want to hopefully make enough money in which you could take your principal off the table. So if you put $100 in, you want to think about how long will it take you to make another $100, so you could take that original $100 off the table, so you've taken away all the risk of that. Well, for you to have made 100% of your money, it would have taken you pretty much 200 years, right? Now, if you could live for that long, if you could live for 200 years, we'll just assume that that's somehow possible, you have to think, will Curve be around 200 years from now? What are the chances of Curve being hacked and you losing your money? What are the chances of there being some kind of smart bug, smart contract bug that happens in 200 years? What's going to happen? Who knows what's going to happen? But can you guarantee that in 200 years, there isn't going to be some kind of crisis that causes you to lose all your funds on that platform? So 200 years is an absurdly long amount of time, but it's important to be thinking about things this way. You want to be thinking about things in terms of how long is it going to take for you to get your money back if in case there was something terrible that would go wrong. And you have to understand, you have to have a rational paranoia of failure, because these instruments are very new, and I think it's right for you to expect a high return on these assets, because you're putting a lot of risk down on the table. Curve has only been around for a few years. Even Binance, you could say it's been around for 10 years, but even still, you never know what could happen with Binance. You don't know if they could get hacked, they could get shut down, you don't know what could happen. I think anyone that assumes that there's a guarantee of safety in this field is not thinking correctly about these kinds of things. You want to assume that there's always something bad that can happen, and if you want to have more of a rational paranoia about failure, all you have to do is look into the recent history of crypto, right? How many things fell apart during the 2022 bull market? FTX, Luna, Nexo, Voyager, there's so many different ones, and these are just the big ones. What about the smaller ones you've never heard of, right? So you need to be very paranoid that things can just break down, and if you're going to have money in there, it's got to be money that you're willing to lose, and if it's money you're willing to lose, you've got to be looking forward to the day in which you've made 2x your money, so you can then take out your original principal. So let's again look back to some of these examples here. See, we've got here Easy ETH and WETH, right? So this is going to give you 7.63% APY. So I'm just going to go 100 divided by 7.63. So you're going to have to wait 13 years for you to 2x, right? So the question is, how stable is CurveFi going to be in 13 years? Is CurveFi going to be around in 13 years? Are they going to have a smart contract bug in 13 years? Are they going to get hacked within 13 years? And then think about the underlying assets here. Easy ETH is it's a derivative of ETH that represents the underlying token. What's going to happen with Easy ETH? How long is that going to be around for? What are the chances that maybe something bad's going to happen with Easy ETH? What about with What about with wrapped Ether tokens? What are the chances that that's going to retain its stability in 13 years? Now, these aren't questions for me to answer because I don't know enough specifically about those things. If you genuinely believe in your heart of hearts that these things are going to be around for 13 years, all these things are going to be around for 13 years, then fine, you can make your bet, but you've got to consider it in this way. How long is it going to take for me to get my principal back so I can take it off the table and de-risk, right? So whatever money is left in there is all profit, and if anything bad happens, that's fine because I've already taken my principal off the table. This is the correct way to be thinking about it. And to be fair, from my personal opinion, I think it's hard to accurately decipher about whether these things are actually going to be around for as long as they need to be around for you to break even. SDI and SUSDE, I don't even know these things, right? I know there are derivatives. They're derivatives of this underlying asset. Like USD SUSDE is kind of like a derivative of like some stable coin token, which is a derivative of the US dollar token, which is basically a derivative of nothing because it has no underlying value. So, I mean, if you're going to stake these stable coins, you got to think, well, how long is fiat currency even going to be around? I don't want to get too lost in the weeds, but let's just use this one here as an example. So you've decided to stake your, provide as liquidity your SDAI and SUSDE at 14.55%. So it's going to take around 7 years for you to break even. So you've got to think, how long can these things last for? Can it last at least 7 years? If it can, then good, you'll at least get your money back. And then you can take your principal off the table. But you've got to be thinking about it in terms of, you've got to be thinking about it in this way. Because the reality is, I think if you're rational about it, you would understand that the chances of any of these things having legs in the long-term time frame is very unlikely. And I'm talking about some of the more extreme examples here. Like if I just go back to this page here and I look at Binance, KuCoin, Coinbase are way more likely to outlast any of these things. But you've got to think, how much APY are they going to give you, provided that you were staking, like even if you could get like 16%, on your Bitcoin on KuCoin, which is the most stable thing to be staking on a platform. You're going to think, well, how long is KuCoin going to be around for? And let's do the maths here. So divided by 16, it would take you, divided by 16, what the heck? It would take you around 6 years for you to break even, take your money off the table, so you can de-risk, right? So that, you might say, well, that's a worthwhile risk to take. KuCoin's been around for that time. So I think there are things you can get into. I'm not saying you shouldn't stake at all, but considering the risk profile and how long it will take to break even and how likely it is for these instruments to be around in the long run, I think it's unlikely. Let's look at another one. Oh, there's Frax here. Let's see. Okay, I won't look at Frax now. Let's look at Lido, right? Lido, staking ETH. You get 3.1%. Oh, wait, let me get out of the way. So if you stake your Ethereum on Lido ETH, you'll get 3.1%. And I mean, this video is going to get a lot of hate, and I don't really care about it. But I really question why when I question other people's methods of making money in crypto. I've been making these kinds of videos for a while. People really freak out if you point the holes in their strategy, and they really freak out about it. So I'm inviting criticism for this, but let's just do the rational basis for this, right? You're making 3.1% a year. So if you to break even on your principal, it's hang on, divided by 100, divided by 3.1. It'll take you 32 years to essentially 2x your money. And break even, so you can take your original principal off the table, and essentially whatever you've got in there is just purely profit, even if everything lost. So we've got to think, how long is even Ethereum going to be around for? Like, can you guarantee that Ethereum is going to be around for 32 years? Can you guarantee that there is going to be a smart contract bug? Can you guarantee that Lido or the DAO that controls it isn't going to be hacked? And people come up with all kinds of cope excuses. Oh, but like they've been audited, they've got this thing going on, this thing going on. That's not the point. The point is, can you guarantee that your funds are going to be intact and you're going to be generating yield for the next 32 years? Because you have to be making money for those 32 years in order for you to break even, right? Because what if you're staking your money for 16 years and you're pulling out your funds, and like after 16 years, which is like, half of this time frame for you to totally break even, you've got all this money off the table, you think you're doing well, and then suddenly there's a hack and you lose your principal, right? Then you've lost 50% of your funds. So you need to be thinking, how long is it going to take for you to totally break even so you can take your original principal off the table? And I'm not saying that means you need to look for the things with the highest API. It's a combination of trying to get the highest API and also a combination of trying to find the most stable platform. But predicting these things so far into the future is a futile act. Lido, who's only been around for 2 years, trying to figure out whether it's going to be around for the next 32 is, I think, it's not a good thing to even think about. You can't predict that far into the future. It's hard to even know for sure what's going to happen with Bitcoin. And out of all the things that you should be staking, the only thing you should really be staking is Bitcoin. Like, not even stables, not even Ethereum, you probably should just be focused on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's got the longest history. It's been around for the longest amount of time. And even then, who knows what's going to happen with Bitcoin in 32 years time? If you staked your Bitcoin on the safest platform known to man, and you're making 10%, maybe I would understand, but still, like, you can't guarantee that it's going to be around for that long. And you need to be thinking, when can you finally break even? When can you finally take funds off the table? If you're going to break even in 30 years, like, who knows what's going to happen? A solar flare could happen. Like, I think it's not the best. It's not the best way of doing it, right? If you want to go if you understand that this is a short-term game and you want to go the degen route, I think I would have to make another video for that entirely, because if you're acknowledging that you're not going to be staking for a long time, but you want to take quick advantage of like 100% API on some new staking or yield farming protocol that's come out on some like obscure chain, and there's lack of liquidity, and they're offering people like 300%. Then there's perhaps a degen strategy for that, where you do something called yield farming, where it's like you look for protocols that are offering extremely high APYs, and there isn't a lot of risk. You go in there and you try and farm the native token, then you dump the native token, and then as the APYs go down, then you look for some other protocol that's offering a high amount. You move your funds to that other protocol. You farm it there, and then as the APY goes down, you just keep moving from place to place. This is called yield farming. It's a degen strategy. I think there's definitely risk in there, but if the APY is high enough, there's a chance you can tolerate the risk, right? And in a sense, if you're just staking your Bitcoin for like 200 or 300% on one of these like crappy protocols where there's a lot of risk, the irony is it's almost safer than doing staking your funds on Litter for 3.1%, because I don't know if Litter is going to be around for 32 years, right? But if there's some crappy platform that's offering like 200 or 300%, like PancakeSwap was doing back in the day, it's like, well, hey, like, I only need to have my funds in here for a year. I can make my money back, take my funds off, take my original principal off the table, and then I've got all this money to continue playing with. That degen strategy, I think, actually has a lot more legs than going the safe route of just, I'm going to stake my funds in Ethereum and make my money back like, 32 years from now. And I know you, like, during that time, you can take your funds, your original principal out at any time. But if you were to follow this strategy of playing the long-term game in a industry that has not even really been around for like more than a couple of years, I'm talking DeFi, not even the crypto sphere. I'm talking like DeFi has not even been around for a couple of years, and you're going to stake in a uncertain future, hoping this stuff stays around for multiple decades. I think that's not a good idea. So the TLDR of this video is, I don't think staking is a good idea. Let other people deal with it. If you want to go into a more degen yield farming strategy, maybe there's a possibility for that. I'll make a video on that in the future. But long-term staking, I don't think it's a good idea. Like, don't be thinking about trying to make like 3 or 4%. Just because the number is low, that doesn't make it more safer, right? Because you're going to have to be exposed to this product for even longer, which over the long term, the risk is extrapolated over a much longer period of time, whereas the instruments that provide you high amounts of APY, like 100%, the risk profile is like condensed in a much shorter time frame. But the reality is they both have like a similar amount of risk, because at least with the thing that has more condensed risk, you can get more reward and you can get your original principal out faster. So I think the promise of low yields does not make it inherently safer, right? So I just want to make that clear. Personally, I think there are much better ways of making money in crypto. I think a lot of people get into staking or this other degen behavior because that's the only way that people know how to make money in crypto, and it can be very lucrative. But part of this channel is about making money in crypto, and I want to implore you guys to avoid the degen shit, avoid the yield farming, all this nonsense, and get into doing real business in crypto. And I've made a number of videos on my channel about how to make money in crypto in a sustainable way. That's a real business. You're not scamming anybody. You're not doing any grift. And I've made a number of videos that are about just making normal business in crypto. One of them involves doing peer-to-peer trading, and you're simply accepting payment like in I would say a non-traditional payment system like PayPal, right? You can't usually use PayPal to buy and sell crypto. But if you offer PayPal as a payment method for other people, you can charge 20% above market rate. Like, there's nothing scammy about that. It's just straight, normal, good business. And if you can get involved in peer-to-peer trading, there's a bit of a learning curve to it, you can make real money doing it. So I suggest that you go sign up with my referral links in the description down below to get involved in peer-to-peer trading. It's not just a good way of making money, it's also a fantastic way of debanking, because many of these platforms that I recommend don't require any KYC. The sellers don't require any KYC. So sign up with my referral link in the description down below to the various peer-to-peer exchanges that I recommend. You've got HODL, Local CoinSwap, you've got BitValve, you've got a number of different other exchanges. And if you want to learn about how to actually use these peer-to-peer cryptocurrency exchanges to make money and create a business out of it, you can subscribe to my channel and you can look at some of my videos about how to buy and sell things on peer-to-peer cryptocurrency exchanges. I think it's a much better business model than staking or buying shitcoins and stuff like that. It's an honest living, it's just a normal business model, and yeah, so check it out if you're interested, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.